On October 6th, a mere 15 days ago, inside Broad Run High School in Loudoun County, Virginia, a young girl was sexually assaulted. Attorney General Garland, are you aware that because Loudoun County prosecutors confirmed that the boy who assaulted this young girl in Broad Run High School is the same boy who wore a skirt and went into a girl's bathroom, sodomized and raped a 14-year-old girl in a different Loudoun County high school on May 28th? Are you aware of those facts? The boy was, are you aware firmly, are you aware further that the boy was arrested and charged for the first assault in July but released from juvenile detention?
This sounds like a state case, and I'm not familiar with it. I'm sorry.
Do you agree with Loudoun parents who said it is not okay to allow a child that has been charged with a rape to go back into a school in that public school system?
Again, I don't know any of the facts of this case, but the way you put it, it certainly sounds like I would agree with you. But I don't know the facts of the case.
Is the FBI or the Department of Justice investigating the Loudoun School Board for violating civil rights or under authority of, say, the Violence Against Women Act?
I don't believe so, but I don't know the answer to that.
The chairman just said the Trump DOJ was political and went after their opponents. Are you kidding me? 3 weeks ago, the National School Board Association writes President Biden asking him to involve the FBI in local school board matters. 5 days later, the Attorney General of the United States does just that, does exactly what a political organization asked to be done. 5 days. Republicans on this committee have sent the Attorney General 13 letters in the last 6 months. It takes weeks and months to get a response. 8 of the letters, we've got nothing. They just gave us the finger, said, we're not going to get back to you. And all our letters were actually sent to the Attorney General. Here's a letter sent to someone else asking for a specific thing to be done, and in 5 days, the Attorney General does it. Here's what the October 4th memo said. Quote, I'm directing the FBI to convene meetings with local leaders. These meetings will open dedicated lines of communication for threat reporting. Dedicated lines of communication for threat reporting. A snitch line on parents.
I watched the time. I was aware of a time when our race led our country in a percentage of men matriculating from college, black men matriculating from college. I now have been aware of in 2017 studies that Department of Education that 75% of the black boys in the state of California cannot pass standard reading and writing tests. That's a big shift. And the difference is, in those days when I was growing up, parents were involved. There was a trust that we can send our kids to school and they'll be taught how to love our country, love each other, and love education. That has been changed drastically. And I think I'm going to implore parents out there, get involved. Now's the time. Do not trust any other adults, particularly our educational system, for the future of your kids. Get involved. Fight for your rights, for your kids to be taught how to love our country, love education, and move forward. And I think we do that, we get back to the old school America where we can really appreciate the fact of who we are and in the education system that should be teaching us how to do that.
Yesterday, the person who shot and killed 17 people at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, injured 17 more, and traumatized my entire community, pleaded guilty in a Broward County courtroom. Many Parkland families strongly believe that gun companies must also be held responsible for the dangerous marketing of assault weapons. Unfortunately, the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, known as PLACA, has blocked countless victims and surviving family members from their day in court. The law provides broad immunity against civil lawsuits unique to the gun industry. Unfortunately, the Department of Justice has a long history of intervening in civil cases filed by gun violence survivors to defend this law. The question is whether you believe, Attorney General Garland, that repealing PLACA to hold gun makers accountable for their products and the marketing of those products could improve gun safety in America.
So the President has already stated his opposition to that statute. But our obligation in the Justice Department is to defend the constitutionality of statutes that we can reasonably argue are constitutional. That's the position that the Justice Department takes, whether we like the statute or not. We defend the constitutionality of Congress's work.
Any defendant involved in the January 6 events been charged with insurrection?
I don't believe so.
Well, that is the word most used by Democrats here on Capitol Hill about January 6, but no one has been charged with it that we could find either. How many protesters on January 6 were charged with obstructing an official proceeding for 4 to 6 hours? Do you know?
I don't know the exact number. Obviously, there are 650 who were arrested, some for assaulting officers, some for obstructing proceedings, some for conspiring to obstruct proceedings. I can get you the numbers for each of the specific.
Well, thank you. I'd be interested in getting that number.
Are you familiar with Title V of the Code of Federal Regulations, which addresses the rules of impartiality for executive branch employees and officials?
I am very familiar with it, and I want to be clear once again that there's nothing in this memorandum which has any effect on the kinds of curriculums that are taught or the ability of parents to complain about the kinds of...
I understand your position on the free speech
Not a
of parents.
position. It is
Wait just a
the words
minute.
of the
The question is, the thing that has concerned many of those parents that are showing up at these school board meetings, the very basis of their objection and their vigorous debate, as you mentioned earlier, is the curricula, the very curricula that your son-in-law is selling.
How would the National Red Flag Law work with other federal protections to prevent gun violence?
So we're in favor of a national red flag law. What we're doing now is making model red flag laws for the states. And these models provide that guns can be taken away from a person in distress, normally from a mental crisis of some kind, when requested by someone close to them, or if there's already a court violation of some kind. But it provides due process protections for those people to ensure that that haven't been inappropriately taken. The risk here is that people in distress can commit violent acts, and when they have easy access to a firearm, the risk is that violent act ends in a death. So I think the red flag laws are very important in that respect.
Do you agree that an alien who's received proper notice of his or her immigration court hearing, who fails to appear at that hearing absent exceptional circumstances, and is ordered removed in absentia, should be removed from this country?
I'm not really familiar with exactly the circumstance you're talking about. There are rules about removal, and there are
when
rules
someone
that
is
the
ordered
Department
deported
of
by
Homeland Security
a
has
court.
established. I'm sorry.
If someone is ordered deported by a court, should they be removed?
If they're ordered deported by a court, then we have an obligation to follow the court's order.
And yet the president on his opening day in office instructed Customs Immigration and Customs Enforcement not to conduct such deportations.
I'm not familiar with the specific thing you're talking about. I'm sorry.
General Garland, my colleague, Mr. Deutsch, asked you about gun manufacturer liability, and I wanted to follow up and ask, does the recent Pennsylvania decision, which has been vacated and re-argued, change your office's reasoning and thinking, and would you commit to re-examining DOJ's posture in such cases as the law changes in different states?
I'm going to ask you to refresh my recollection as to the recent Pennsylvania decision about which you're speaking. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I have a lot of cases in my head, but that one doesn't come right up.
Last year, a Pennsylvania state appeals court held the Protecting Lawful Commerce in Arms Act unconstitutional. And so just asking, in light of that, would you commit to re-examining as new cases come in?
The Justice Department has taken the position in court that we're going to defend that statute as constitutional, and I don't see a ground for changing our mind. I expect that the considerations that the judges in the Pennsylvania State Court were brought to the attention of the Solicitor General's office